I may have just broke the door, Hannah. It's okay.
Hi, how are you? Oh my gosh, this is awesome.
Thank you.
So good to see you.
You too. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course.
Yeah. So sequence we'll do is either I or Hannah will intro and we'll say, hey, welcome to another episode of Piper Answers. This is the first of a 4-part series that we're doing with our good friend Katelyn Lesk, who is an online health and fitness coach, also a promoter of nonprofits and tech companies in the city of Pittsburgh. This first one is going to be about some of the considerations that we put into the company before we actually got it off the ground. So we're gonna give the floor to Katelyn to take it away. And that's literally gonna be the intro.
I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
All right, Erin, I'm gonna start with you. I've followed your Going Deep podcast for a long time. How did you decide to take your baby, what you created through the podcast and the Going Deep Summit, and decide to actually partner up with somebody else and spin a company out of that?
Yeah, so that was actually one thing I wasn't sure of at first. Like, is it going to be separate? Like, is Going Deep going to live over here and Piper's going to live over here? And the more time we spent together and just had chemistry, I mean, the story's already been told of like coming to Hannah because she's great with photography and someone I've admired for a while. But to push it all under one thing is the metaphorical way to signal to someone who you're partnering with and to the world that like, this is the thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not good at anything like half pregnant or 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And so pushing all of the brand equity that I've built up, all of the connections, everything under that umbrella also signals to the world, and it's apparent just from friends and their engagement with it that like this is something Erin's really serious about.
Yeah, it was so clear to me how much you believe in Hannah and Hannah's work, and it's easy to see from your work how anyone could feel that way. But That's awesome. It definitely gave that signal to the world for sure.
Right.
So the next question would be, when you did decide to partner with her, how did you decide on your company titles? You're CEO and creative director, is that correct?
Chief Creative Officer.
Okay, so how did you decide on those titles, and what falls under the roles of each of your responsibilities for the company?
So Chief Creative Officer, he came to me with the title. He was like, this is just made for you. And I didn't think twice about it. It was something that was so attractive to me, but I basically handle everything that falls under content and visual creation. So the vlog editing, the client work and the photo shoots and the graphics and everything that has to deal with creative production is kind of under my reign of duties.
Yeah, she owns all the visual media, and anything you would see is like her domain. So that includes our website, that includes the Instagram accounts, and even where we're getting to with the vlog is like, I think we commented like of the last 6 that she's sent me before she releases, I think I've made 1, and it was like, can you just like add or move this watermark? It's not even like a stylistic detail. And the other idea was, and this kind of comes, it's actually tied into the Going Deep Summit. My philosophy is, if someone's really talented, the best thing you can do is maybe kind of give them wide guardrails and then just let them operate in that space. And that's what we did with the speakers, where they were allowed to, talk about whatever they wanted to. They just had a certain time limit. And with Hannah, it's the same thing, where it's like, let me biz dev and set meetings and figure out paperwork and like all these things that are just to some way, shape, or form draining, like trying to recruit people or setting up a page so we can get interns, and you just be creative. And not only is that something that will keep her from ever getting burnt out, because that's the risk with this type of work, that you're burning someone out, but also just allows her to be her best creative self.
Yeah, it seems like you guys just seamlessly fit into those roles perfectly based on your individual background, so that makes a lot of sense. But you did bring up the point about how she's sent you, out of the last 6 vlogs, you maybe had 1 correction. So with creative stuff, and also with the big business decisions that are involved in any business creation, how do you guys handle your decision-making process? Are you always consulting with each other? Are there some things that you just know to handle on your own? What about the big moves for the long-term vision of the company? How do you guys work through those decisions?
We are constantly bouncing things back and forth. So when it comes to sending a sales agreement to a potential client, I always look it over, make any edits that I feel are necessary. But I mean, he's so competent in that area, which is great. But but yeah, it's just an open line of communication with literally everything.
And I think as we progress and like there's people who start to be underneath us and a greater like collection of responsibilities that we're each holding, some of that stuff will get less of like reviewing because we'll just start to trust each other more because we've done it. And like the vlog is an example of that, where like at some point I don't think I'll even watch it. It'll just be up and we're like, oh, cool. And like, that was nice. But so like an example of micro versions of things that we totally own. Like I haven't made a single comment on an image that we've posted to Instagram. She's like, these are what we're posting. This is maybe the general order and this is the preset that I put on. Like, I don't even know how to correct for that, right? And then in the same sense, some days I'll just be like, these are the 4 meetings that we're going to because, you know, this person might sponsor the summit, this person's a podcast interview, this person's a biz dev opportunity, and I think this person's someone we'd want to hire down the road, and just like, cool, go. So there's already that starting to happen, but I assume that as we progress and like, I would have a team underneath me and she has a team underneath her, those start to get a little more pulled apart because we also have a lot of respect for each one's respective specialty.
You're both so good at what you do, so that makes sense. Curious question that came up as you were talking. How much time do you guys actually spend together, and how much time are you just like calling each other about different things that need to be consulted on?
So Facebook Messenger is our platform of choice for communication, but
we're switching to Slack.
Yeah, we're switching to Slack.
Cool.
That move has been made. But we spend, I would say, a solid 3 days a week together. And whether that's 8-hour days or more like 5-6 hour days, just going to meetings, that's pretty much what we've been doing up to this point. And then we message every single day. We're in constant communication pretty much.
And we're also doing weekends where like it'll be more of like a big think, or like, so we just released an episode of like our big picture planning, but not so much pie in the sky, but even like, so let's talk about like the next month. I'm going to New Orleans, you have this responsibility, there's a tennis tournament in the future, like let's just try to get on the same page meta, and then that allows us to move more quickly and efficiently day to day.
The weekdays are dedicated to biz dev, podcasting, and then the weekends are more sit down, regroup, and think about the future.
That's awesome. I love that strategy. I feel like that's something that even if you don't work with somebody else in your own business, setting things up like that and just having kind of the specific times for each thing is really helpful.
Yeah, if people haven't read Getting Things Done by David Allen, that's like the epitome of that strategy. So read that if you need to be productive.
That is such a good one. One last question on kind of the early business formation is, I was so impressed when I first went to your website about how specific what you guys do as a company is. So you have the Instagram, the podcast, the vlogging, offered all as services. And I was curious when you originally sat down, because I know how talented you guys both are. I mean, there's a whole host of things you guys could have focused on. How did you pick those 3 specific things, and how did you decide to narrow it down to just 3 things?
It was almost a no-brainer. I mean, we came in just bringing each other's individual strengths, and then we knew the documentary as a service was something that we would want to offer as well. But for me, before Piper, I ran my own business for a year, and I literally got 75% of my clients through my own Instagram page and just perfecting that, and I put a lot of time and effort into it, and so he noticed that, so that's where the Instagram service came from. Aaron obviously has this massive podcast with over 300 episodes, so he's an expert in that field. And then the documentary as a service is just what he initially pitched me to be the company itself, and anything else to add?
I mean, the documentary as a service is what we're trying to get to. Like the vision that I could paint this ideal picture 2 years from now, it's that we would have 8 clients who are producing these professional vlogs for in like a really robust capacity. And to get there, we need to eat. So we have these other service offerings, and it's specialized because the ethical thing to do is to sell what you to the highest degree of certainty you believe will work. And these are the 2 things that we've made work. So like it would be disingenuous to say, we both have Twitter accounts, but I don't attribute much of our success to Twitter. So to like sell Twitter as like what will do it because that's what people want, in my estimation, is unethical.
I love that. I never actually thought about it as plainly as you just stated it, but that makes so much sense. And it's what you guys have already have a proven track record of how much it works.
And there's also something that's interesting, which is we've been talking to other agencies in town and outside of town, and they want to refer business to us, or they want to find a way to partner, because it's so clear that we're not competitors. We're not saying we're the full service agency. We're not saying that we're like going to do those things. You guys, these other agents keep doing it. Come to us when you want one of these specialized things, and that just is another thing that opens doors for you, because they're like, well, we're not going to pretend that we're better podcasters than these guys, or better any of these than these guys, because they aren't.
I love that. I mean, you always hear that there's so much power in clarity, and I will just say, hands down, the first time I went to your website, it was so clear, boom, 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 these are the 3 things that we do, and there wasn't any gray area. I wasn't guessing. I mean, and I just really appreciated that and respected that, coming from a business, to not try to be it all to everyone, but to really hone in on what your specific skills and talents were. So I just applaud you on that. I think that's awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Cool. Well, that's all the questions I have in this section. So we'll be talking more about clients and other things, all the business back end, in the next series.
Yes.
Yeah. If you have a co-founder, how did you find that co-founder? How do you guys fit together? Leave a comment below.
Love it.